Even though diversity, equity, and inclusion jobs increased by 55% following the murder of George Floyd, May 2020, recent study has shown that the vast majority of them have dried up across the country. DEI layoffs have been fast and unrelenting. A study conducted by LinkedIn showed that chief diversity and inclusion officer positions expanded by 168.9% from 2019 to 2022. A lot must have been necessary. Companies like X, Twitter, Amazon, Applebee's have experienced significant layoffs since July 2022, according to New York-based data company Revelio Labs. Different survey revealed Black employees account for only 3.8% of chief diversity officers in all, while white people make up 0.1% of the positions. Do you understand why I feel like this is a clown show? Did you? Even the diversity, equity, inclusion. This is why I'm thinking that this is one of those MTV or Bravo bad game shows where someone's going to pop out and scare me, and I don't like that. But I wish they would, Mayor. I can't even get through the rest of it. 76% are white people. You gotta go, you take it.
Listen, I've been screaming about DEI programs being not for people who are interested in diversity, equity, inclusion, and now I know why. It is written by the same people that we have a problem with. This is what happened. I've been in white organizations where the so-called progressive ED was the most progressive person in the space. And when I challenged him on what he thought was good policies for Black people, it made him uncomfortable, and me and him were in friction. But I'm telling you, you can't teach me about my people in this manner. I'm telling you what you're doing is problematic. And DEI is so problematic, and now 76% of these are being held by people that are you're supposedly trying to include, and I know why. This is in line with this long myth about what this entire DEI is nothing but the grandchild of affirmative action, and we know who benefited from affirmative action. This is absolutely on par for the course.
Wow. I gotta tell you, well, I'll go through a little bit more of this, but it's just so disheartening. But it's so clear, it's so obvious. Revelio Labs senior economist Rayhan Ayas stated that calls for equity in the workplace back in 2020 were promising, but never taken seriously. She stated, "I always say it is so easy to make public statements and commitments because no one will eventually check if you're committed to the things that you committed to," she explained. "I can say I will be fully vegan by 2025 because no one will ever call me in 2025 and ask me if I'm actually fully vegan." It's interesting, the root with her statements makes perfect sense to me. And that's really what is going on here. 2020, a lot of companies made big commitments, big statements around the DEI roles and goals. And as we are observing, turning of that tide, I think it's very timely that we actually look into companies to see if they've kept up with those big statements they made. The fact that the Supreme Court banned affirmative action in college admissions has only exacerbated the problem. Following the affirmative action ruling, your 4 diversity, equity, inclusion officers in Hollywood were fired the very next day. Well, that must have been just a little bit of a coincidence that they were all fired the next day. I'm sure it was just a coinky-dink. And Mayor, even when people think they're being so progressive and reaching out, my high school, one of my closest friends became the president of Temple University, the first Black person to lead Temple in I think 130 years. He barely unpacked his clothes before ridiculous things started happening. And I know this man, so I can speak the truth. Excellent character, a real one, excellent pedigree. Stanford, Harvard, Columbia. What didn't he achieve? And suddenly he gets to this dream pinnacle job and he's just not qualified anymore. And what made me even angrier than the disrespect shown this man who could have been a wonderful leader to this college in need was as I recently read an article, the all-white board, and I think the chairman, he says I think next time we're gonna have to go with somebody who's been a college president before. Now, did you hear that part? I think next time we're gonna have to go with someone who's been a college president before. Boy, that does cut down the applicant pool, doesn't it? Doesn't even realize how racist and ignorant that statement. You have greatly offended me. When I read that, I had to close the computer and take a deep breath. I was furious. But that's what is done all the time. Your turn, Mayor.
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on with your analogy. I can't, it's that code language, right? It's not, we can't hire Black people anymore. It's we can't hire people who ain't never done this before, It's the double language, right? It's the same language that say you can't vote if your granddaddy didn't own land. Oh, by the way, my granddad was a slave, so you know he didn't own land, right? We know what you're saying, and it ain't even dog whistles anymore, it's bullhorns. And the tragedy of this story is we've known since the 80s, study after study, that white women were benefiting more than anybody else from affirmative action, right? 6 million women, majority of them, overwhelming majority of them in 1986. Listen to that. Had jobs that they would not have had if it wasn't from affirmative action. Affirmative action made white women eligible for jobs that they weren't even considered for or had to be considered for. They weren't out here hiring us. They were hiring white people, white women specifically as minorities. So this idea that you are this, but this shows you how far they're willing to go to ensure that we don't get anything. Like we will starve some of our own to prove to you all. Look how many people have been, a half of a million people have been kicked off Medicaid, wrongly kicked off Medicaid because of something that happened during COVID and these laws they let lapse, and people ain't even talking about it. We got Republicans at Donald Trump rallies talking about they need Donald Trump to get back in office so they can get their Medicaid because they ain't got Medicaid. You shouldn't be at Donald Trump rally, you should be at the Social Security office. But this dumbness, this idea that we can play like this is so dangerous, and our democracy is falling apart at the whim because we are not doing anything serious about it.
We're playing in plain sight. We're playing out loud. So what you're really saying is those 4 diversity, equity, inclusion women in Hollywood weren't fired just coincidentally on the same day. By design.
By design.